Lesson 2.1 is about integers and absolute value. Well, let's define a few things before we get started. An integer is any number that's in the set right here. Now, this set right here, notice it has an ellipsis on here, which is 3 periods in a row. I believe that's what it is. 3 periods in a row means that goes on forever in the negative direction. So like negative 100 is in there, and well, it keeps on going forever, and also has an ellipsis going this way. And it means that the pattern continues forever. So if you notice, this just keeps on going up by ones, and going up by ones only is saying that that pattern continues. So an integer is basically any whole number, either positive or negative. All right. So when we say a negative integer is anything to the left of 0. That's negative integer. Okay. A positive integer then is anything to the right of 0. And 0 itself is neutral. It's neither positive or negative. And again, we kind of said what a whole number is. Just to define an integer is a whole number, which means it doesn't have any decimal places. It's not a fraction. Well, technically, I guess 2 over 1 is a fraction, right? Okay, but it's going to be an even number, a whole number. All right, no decimals attached to it. Okay, that's what a whole number is. Where do we see integers in real life, and why are we talking about them? Well, the score of a golfer. If we say he's 3 underneath par, 3 under par means he shot a -3. So he was 3 better than what the course should be. What about temperature? A lot of times, maybe the air temperature is -5 degrees and has a wind chill of -22. That means it's really cold out, right? Well, we see negative integers in temperature, and we also see positive integers. Like today, it's 65 degrees. Okay. So we see them in real life. We can also graph integers, and there's a time and place where we need to graph them in real life. So to learn how to graph, we're going to start simple, and we'll move forward in graphing integers in a real problem here. It says graph the set of integers 4, -6, and 0. When it says set, it's everything that's inside these squiggly lines. So we need to graph this, and what we're going to do is we're going to graph it on a number line. All right, so we just need to make a number line. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. And to graph these in, we just need to put a dot on this coordinate. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4. And then 0, I need one there. And then -6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we just put a big dot where its coordinate is on the graph. So again, we can graph this, we can graph more, all right? And we can have, let's see, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's number some of these. So this would be -1, 0, 1. Let's see, 3, 5, and so forth. Now we can graph it from there. So -4 has a spot on it. Here is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I guess it would be way out here. I didn't make my graph big enough. -3 is here, and 7 is right here. So that's how we graph it. Now, pretend if this set had an ellipsis on it. It's saying that the pattern, this actually isn't no particular pattern, but say it's a pattern, and say its pattern continued to the left, to the negative direction. We would just put a big arrow pointing to the negative direction. That would tell us that that pattern continues. Okay. We also know, now that we've graphed a number line, we can decide what an absolute value is. All right, we can understand better what an absolute value is. An absolute value is a distance away from 0. And when we talk about distance, we can never have a negative distance. If you think about, hey, I throw a ball, or I throw a frisbee. This would be a better example. I throw a frisbee and it gets caught in the wind and it takes it behind me, behind where I was trying to throw it. Technically, you would say it went a -10 feet, right? It went in the wrong direction. Well, that negative sign actually only tells you what direction you're going in. The distance is 10, so it went -10. The distance is 10. It went an actual 10 feet, so it traveled distance. So we're always going to have a distance that we can go. We can never go a negative distance, all right? The negative just tells us in which direction we are moving. Negative means we're moving the opposite direction we want it to. All right, so distance is always positive. So what an absolute value is just a distance away from 0. So if I were to mark negative 10 on here, and I wanted to know what the absolute value, and we denote that by these bars here like that. That's an absolute value, okay? We want to know the distance it takes. How far is it from negative 10 back to 0? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 10 away. So the absolute value, the distance it is away from 0 is 10. All right, so in the same way, maybe I had 5 over here. What's the distance from 5 to 0? Well, it's 5. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the distance is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 back to 0. So the absolute value sum is just always a distance away from 0. So I was saying, what's the absolute value of 4? The absolute value is just, or negative 4 is just 4. If I start at negative 4, so here's negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. There's negative 4. If I want to count my way back to 0, is 1, 2, 3, and 0 is 4. Okay, so it's 4 away. All right. When we have it in an expression, all right, we do the absolute value. We do anything that's inside here. We treat them like parentheses first. We do anything that's inside. Maybe we got to add or multiply or anything. And then after we're done with that, then we do the absolute value expression. We do that, and then we continue on. All right, so negative 5. There's nothing to do within the, we'll call them parentheses. All right, so then we just do the absolute value of negative 5 is 5. The distance away from negative 5 to 0 is 5. Minus the absolute value of 2, which is just 2. So 5 minus 2 is 3. So we don't mess with anything else. We just do the absolute value first. All right. So the absolute value of negative 6 is just 6. The distance from negative 6 to 0 is 6. Minus 5. Now 6 minus 5 is 1. So easy enough. I hope this helps. And we'll see you in class.